I woke up to the sound of my front door opening, but I live alone. It was 2:43 a.m. I remember because I glanced at the clock when I jolted awake. The sound of the door creaking open pulled me out of a deep sleep, and my heart immediately started pounding in my chest. My apartment is tiny, one bedroom, no hallway, nothing fancy. I was alone, or at least I was supposed to be. I tried to stay perfectly still, listening, hoping it was just some weird noise from the building settling, but no. It was unmistakable. The door was definitely opening, and slowly. A few seconds later, I heard soft footsteps in the hallway leading to my bedroom. Whoever it was, they weren't rushing. They weren't even trying to be quiet. My thoughts scrambled. Was it a roommate I didn't remember having? I didn't have one. Was I sleepwalking? No. I was fully awake now. I could hear breathing. Not from my direction. From behind the door. In that moment, the terror hit me full force. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I didn't even dare to breathe. Then came the whisper. Low, soft, almost affectionate. I know you're awake. My blood ran cold. The voice was familiar, too familiar. It was my mother's voice. But my mother was dead. She died almost a year ago. I could hear the floorboards creaking as the person stepped closer to the edge of my bed. My mouth was dry. I wanted to scream, but my throat wouldn't cooperate. I could feel my body betraying me. The room was so still. So silent. That's when I saw it, just barely. A shadow, dark against the dim moonlight spilling through the window. It didn't move like a human. It slithered, like something unnatural. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, it moved closer. Suddenly, a sharp, frantic knock at the door broke the silence. Hey! Are you alright in there? It was my neighbor Chris. He lived across the hall. I couldn't answer. My entire body was paralyzed, but the shadow hesitated, just for a moment. The seconds felt like hours, but in the end, it did something I'll never forget. It turned, and without a sound, melted into the corner of the room. Hey, I called the cops! Open up! Chris shouted again. Without thinking, I bolted to the door. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Chris burst in. His face went pale when he saw me. You look like you've seen a ghost. I didn't answer. I couldn't. He looked around my apartment, and for a moment, I thought everything was going to be okay. But then he paused and stared at the corner of the room where I'd seen the shadow. Isn't that your mom's picture? He asked, voice trembling. I turned to look at where he was pointing. My mother's old portrait hung on the wall, but something was wrong with it. The picture was slightly off-center, and I could swear the eyes were different. Almost alive. Chris stepped back. You didn't notice that, did you? I couldn't speak. I felt the familiar pressure of tears building up. It wasn't just that I saw her face. It was that I knew I hadn't moved the picture. I never touched it. Not since the funeral. The worst part? The whisper came again, louder now, as if from behind me. I'm still here.